make the peekaboo cover for the puppy, I have a piece of fabric. The lining, I actually had some leftover quilt squares from another quilt that I made, and so I sewed 4 of those together for the lining for the flap. And I decided to put a piece of quilt bat in the middle of it as well, just to add some extra body. And then there's the Velcro that will be used to open and close the flap. Start by pinning your pieces together, so the 2 fabrics right sides together, and then the quilt bat on the outside, and just a few pins. And I'm going to be sewing a square. You want to leave your opening in the center of one of this spaces. Do not leave your opening on a corner. It's much more difficult to work with. And so I think we'll leave a 3-finger opening, so about 1.5 inches, 3 centimeters wide. So I have the 1/4 inch foot on my machine. I'm going to sew 1/4 inch seams. So this will be a total of a 7-inch square piece of fabric when I'm done. I've put a pin to mark where I'm going to start. So I'm going to just start there. This is regular stitching, so 2.5 or 2.6 for stitch length. Back stitching. And again, we're going to use corner methods. So shorten your stitch to 1.5. Stitch up to a 1/4 inch from the corner, approximately 6 millimeters. And I check it, and then you're going to do 1 diagonal stitch, and then stitch out a couple centimeters. Increase to 2.5. And back stitch when you reach your other pin. And trim your threads. I thought I was recording while I trimmed this, but evidently not. So what I did was trim the batting off all the way around, and then I clipped the corners. And you want to clip at an angle across the corner, approximately a 90-degree angle there. If you fold your edges, they just meet, and that will give you the neatest corner once you turn it right side out. So once that's done, you want to flip it right side out. You want to open it between the 2 fabrics, not between the batting and the fabric, but between the 2 fabrics here. And basically it's just a matter of pushing the insides through the hole. If you ended up leaving a hole that seems a little too small, you can go back and pull a few stitches and make it bigger. I usually just work with it until I get it through. Once you're done, you want to push out your corners. I'm using my shears, but you need to be very careful with shears because mine in particular have a fairly sharp point on them, and I could make a hole if I wasn't careful. You can also get a gadget called a point turner that is designed for pushing out corners. So that's something that might work here. As well, you can use, the end of a pen or a pencil. and then I'm going to go press this. Once it's pulled out, we're going to stitch all the way around. That's going to close this opening and just put a nice finish on the edges. And once again, I'm using contrasting thread. So then we're ready to put the Velcro on. So I am going to put the loop part of the Velcro on the back at the bottom. And I can see where the center is because of my quilt square here. So I'm going to put it close to the bottom, about right here. And as I did previously with Velcro, I'm going to start by sewing three sides. And then I'm going to do a long diagonal to the diagonal opposite corner. I'm going to double stitch this one side. And then a long diagonal again. Just adjusting because I'm a little bit off the edge of the Velcro there, so I just moved over a bit. And back stitch. So you end up with something that looks like that on the back side. The other piece of Velcro is going to go on the square with the puppy, and I laid the cover on top of it and lined up where I want that piece of Velcro to be. And I just have a pin in it right now to hold it until I get started stitching. And I'm going to use the same technique again to sew this on. So there we are, all finished now with the zigzag, so that's secure. Then you take your cover, put it over the Velcro, and I'm just pinning the top because that's where I'm going to be sewing. Back at the machine, I'm going to stitch just across the top. Make sure the right edge is the one you're doing. And I'm going to sew right on top of the stitching that I did previously. If you want to really secure this, you could do 2 rows of stitching. Mine is pretty close to the top of my dog's head, so I'm not going to do another row of stitching because it will start sewing on top of the puppy. So I'm just going to leave the 1 row of stitching there.